So I was working there up until 2008, and I was still doing the low end theory thing, and that started to make enough money for me to take care of like half of my bills, right? Then when I guess like the job crisis happened, and there was like 250 employees, right? And they let them all go systematically, and so. In the testing world, the video game testing world, especially in mobile applications, like there's like level of importance by which phones are the ones that are used the most, you know, or by which games are the ones that are sold the most. So the job was like what we would try to do is always get on the embed team. Those are the games that are embedded. All right, so there's 250 of us. And then there's 5 embed dudes. So every week for a long time, 15 people disappeared, okay? I was on a pretty good team. I was on the CDMA team, so we had like the LGs and like all that cool stuff. And so we were like the last line of defense because everybody had, well, their CDMA phones had, had better games and more games or whatnot. So basically, I was a part of the last 20 or so. And then I took a trip to Japan for low end theory. I took a trip to Japan and I came back. And then when I got there, yeah, well, you know, it was just like sat down, everything's good. How was Japan? Let me see you in the office. And then I went, you know, whatever. I went to the office. After that, I never really got fired before. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been a really good worker. So after that happened, it kind of like screwed my head up for a bit. I didn't work again, like regular. I never worked again after that, basically. I just worked on music. I started touring in like late 09. My lady started working, you know, she graduated. And after that, I don't think if that wouldn't have happened, I don't think I would be doing this right now, you know? Yeah.
I have sold shoes. I have worked at a car wash. I worked in college for a long time at the school cafeteria, every job you could do in there. I worked summers in school cleaning the dorm rooms with the rest of with the grown people from the town who worked in the cafeteria in the summers. They would have to scrub basically every dorm room from the ceiling to floor and the blinds, the toilets and everything. So I did that with them. I was an RA. I taught. And then I ran after-school programs in LA. And then the last job that I had was teaching special ed kids, 3rd and 4th grade, at a school where to get into the school, you had to have gotten kicked out of 2 other public schools already. So these are like high-level, multi-diagnosis, quote-unquote problem children. Like I had like a 4th grader that came to school with a tattoo, you know, that his mom let him have. I had like stabbings in class. It's a lot of fun. And 1 week in the summertime, we had, because all these kids are on these things called independent education programs. You have to do all this paperwork, IEPs, right? You have to do all this paperwork. So I had a round of IEPs that was doing what that means is after school I'm working for hours a day, kind of writing up these programs and their progress. And after I handed them in that week, I was called into the office and told I was going to be laid off. And it was like that maybe following 24 hours, I was kind of just like in a panic. My son was 2, I think at the time. No, I think he was 1. You know, my income was pretty important for the household. And so I started scrambling, thinking about how I was going to try to get another job, but my wife actually told me, don't even worry about it, you know, like to take advantage of this time and try to devote myself full time to the music. Because I had been doing it the entire time as much as I could and had had some successes, but I hadn't ever been able to really devote all of my time to it. And right around that time, or shortly after that, I think it was weeks after that, a bus driver took me on my first tour, and that kind of started my career then as kind of a full-time musician.
Yeah, so I've worked summers teaching kids between the ages of 7 and 16 how to garden. That was a big job in my life. I worked for 2 weeks as a telemarketer. Actually, I worked for 2 weeks as a telemarketer after the first time I met Mike Eagle at a show in Milwaukee. I'd been interested in rap, but like not on a very serious level. And I saw his live setup, and he had an audio interface. I didn't know what that was or the importance of it. And he told me exactly the make and the model of it. And I didn't have a job at the time. I was in college. And so I got this job as a telemarketer for 2 weeks just to buy this audio interface. And the day came with the paychecks, and this woman's name was Heather Miller. And she came in and she was like, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to give you guys your checks early today. And like everyone was joking, like, wouldn't it be so funny if somebody took this check and walked out? And then I did that. I took the check and I walked out, and everyone laughed, and then I never came back. I don't know what they thought happened. Like they definitely thought at first, like, Rory's really funny, and then I never came back. So those are some jobs I had. I'm only 22, right? So like I started rapping in college, and it kind of picked up pretty quickly. Mike took me on my first tour right before my junior year, right after my sophomore year, and so I knew that I could make money off of rap if I tried hard enough. And so because I was young and in school and I didn't really have any bills or anything, I could hyper focus on making my art profitable and turning it into a job. And I was lucky enough to have these guys be mentors to me and see how they were able to manipulate like the internet and whatnot into making money for them. So, yeah.
Well, to put things in context a tiny bit, I'm a bit older than Rory, about 36, so most of my tales span across large spans of time, and just, So, but when I started, before I started doing music, I didn't have, bless you, I didn't have too many jobs. I worked as a production assistant on a television show for my father's friend. Because my father, I came from a pretty well-off home. My dad had done TV, so we had I had a decent upbringing, through my teen years, and that, I think that kind of emboldened me a tiny bit. And so by the time, which also led to more common irresponsible practices in my job. So I was on a tour over the weekend, and I missed going into work on Monday for my PA gig on a TV show called Girlfriends. So they let me go, and that was that was 1999. That was when I just put out my first CD or tape or whatever you'd like to call it, body of work called Memoirs of the Elephant Man, and I put it out that day. And I don't know what I was really known for at that time in rap, but there were a few people who were interested in me, and enough to make it a kind of big undertaking to put out that little CD. So I lost my job, CD came out, so I just started taking orders and kind of dealing with that, and then it just kept going, and it's just like this. It's like, oh, okay, there's a CD, you want CDs, more, and it just kept going like that, and now I'm here, and that's pretty much it. It's, but seriously, no way does it make sense. The thing about doing art is that no way is anyone, at least with me, people weren't, even though I have a lot of artists in my family who do well, no one told me, do that, you know what I mean? It was like even though my dad helped me with my first rap group, it was kind of like a lark. So, it was really important to me that the community I was a part of, the Blowed and the fans were like, my connection to them, my indie grind was encouraging, what I mean? Had I had that wall where I was disconnected from my audience, it wouldn't have inspired me to do work. I wouldn't have done a second album. I wouldn't have done a third. I wouldn't have done anything. But so yeah, I don't know if I answered the question.